Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. Theme for the show is fake. Racepimping.com is where my book is, and you can find out a lot about fakery over there because I highlight the fake that's being perpetrated on the American citizens today. And it's not just about race, folks. It's faking gender. It's faking religion. It's faking rich versus poor. It's all a fake. The left is full of nothing but frauds. These are frauds being perpetrated on you, and this is what's so sinister about it. All for the sake of money. Somebody wants to get rich and do the least amount possible. You watch criminals on TV and you say to yourself, man, look at that guy. He goes over there and, robs somebody of a car or steals a guy's wallet or, takes money out of a woman's purse at the supermarket or whatever. And you think, how disgusting. But those scumbags, let me tell you something. Far worse is being done to you at a level that would make your head spin. People that do nothing but sit around and look for ways to grab your money. And I'll give you a good example. One of the top contenders for the Democratic 2020 presidential nomination is a fake. Her name is Elizabeth Warren. Now, Elizabeth Warren got to where she is by proclaiming to be an Indian. And there's obviously a big controversy right now. Not big, but a controversy being blown up in the media where President Trump called her Pocahontas. Now, we've been calling her Fauxchahontas, F-A-U-X, French word for fraud, fake. We've been calling her Fauxchahontas for the better part of 4 or 5 years once it was discovered that she's faked her so-called Native American heritage. Made no apologies for it. Oh, well, my grandmother used to say that we were Indian and I believed her. And we jokingly said she drove by a reservation once, so why not? I mean, I'll be honest with you, the majority, if you were to look at the resumes of the people in power leading up to where they got to where they are, you would see 90% fluff and fake. I'm not even kidding. These people will take I've become a resume guru of sorts because I remember I was at my company years ago and they wanted us to hire our boss. And I didn't want the job. So the guy says to me, Kevin, look over these resumes and see who you'd like to work for. Because I didn't want it. I was like, no, I don't really want to supervise anybody right now. It was a new company, blah, blah, blah. So I looked over the resume and my boss's boss, or who would be my boss's boss. My boss's boss, I didn't have a boss at the time, but he said, look these resumes over, see who you'd want to work for. So we were looking at him. He goes, well, hey, I'm bringing this guy in. And he brings in a guy. And I'm looking at his resume, and they're real high on him. And I go back to my boss's boss, and I say to him, I go, so I'm going to interview this guy. He goes, yeah. I said, to be honest with you, I don't think you should hire him. And he goes, well, why? And I said, this resume is fluff. It's nonsense. I go, if you really do the numbers and read between the lines, he's not who he is. So they bring him in anyway, and I interview him, and he said he had done, and I'm going from memory, but he said he'd done $100 million of sales. Now, in my business, if you do 20 million, you're a rock star. So I'm going, how did you do $100 million in sales? You got to share this secret. And so he says, well, actually, I ran a team, and that's what they did. Okay, great, got it. Ran a team. How many people? 7 people. Now, I'm already suspect because if you ran a team that did $100 million in sales, say that. I ran a team that did $100 million in sales. His resume read like he did it. But I forgave him for that. So I said, okay, so you had 7 guys. Who did it? Well, actually, I was responsible for 60% of it, but I had 7 guys that generated 40%. It's like, wow. So you were, again, 60 million and 7 guys were 40 million. Let's just say 8 guys were 40 million for easy math. So each of these guys is delivering 5 million and you're doing 60. Yeah. What was the quota for the territory? So he said, oh, my quota is 50 million. We were knocking it out of the park. So I go, well, then if I was the manager, I'm looking at payroll guys that are, I've got 8 guys making, $250,000 a year. So that's $2 million. And I can just have you who generates more than those other 8 guys. Why wouldn't I just have you? If you're the guy, that's generating that kind of money. So I'm asking him that question, and he's like, well, and he's hemming and hawing because it was BS. So I go and tell my boss, I go, this guy's full of crap. He's not going to make it. They hire him anyway. No exaggeration. This guy lasted 3 months. Everybody hated him. He couldn't sell his way. He couldn't sell water to a thirsty man. And so, I knew I was right. So I've gotten to where I look at these people's resumes not with skepticism, but I want you to prove what you can do. I prove what I can. On my resume, it'll tell you exactly what I've done and exactly what I believe I can deliver and have delivered in the past. Anyway, Elizabeth Warren, she's a fraud. She's made $350,000 a year or something like that as a professor because she was hired as a Native American at a college who was looking for female minorities. Now, they can sugarcoat it and tell you, she thought she was, and blah, blah, blah. It was a lie. And what's funny is when President Trump calls her out, people want to make him out to be the bad guy because he's saying, oh, you mean Pocahontas, the Indian? And it's a slur to the Native Americans. Anyway, here's how Sarah Sanders handled it.
At the event that the president just did with the Navajo code talkers, he referred to Pocahontas being in the Senate. Why did he feel the need to say something that is offensive to many people while honoring the Navajo code talkers, these genuine American
I think
heroes?
What most people find offensive is Senator Warren lying about her heritage to advance her career.
Ouch. That had to hurt a little bit, huh? Yeah, so the outrage for us should be not about the fact that Donald Trump calls her Pocahontas. What? I grew up reading about Pocahontas. They teach about Pocahontas. And it's funny, the Indians in America are going, what's the big deal? It's not a slur. It goes back to, you can't talk about the Atlanta Braves or the Washington Redskins. That's a slap in the face of Native Americans. And they're going, well, how so? The fact that you want to name your teams after us as make us icons? Are you kidding? We love. No. The leftists go, no, Indian man, you don't know what you're talking about. You're supposed to be offended. Look, the fact that what's her name wants to be an Indian is not going to be offensive to Indians, but what should be offensive is the fact that she usurped somebody's position. Some Indian lady could have been, the senator could be a senator at this point, or could have been making a lot of coin teaching at a college or university. But they want to be outraged over the fact that he says that. These people are frauds. The media is handling this situation fraudulently.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.